This week on Autofocus, our special feature is actually one of the many similar events that were held starting by the end of last year up to this time. We are referring to the media Thanksgiving parties that were thrown by several automotive companies to show their appreciation to the motoring media. Ironically, just for doing their jobs, which is to report the goings-on and developments in the automotive industry. One of the latest is that of Volkswagen Philippines.
We had a very successful year 2016. We ended up with 1,060 cars and we became Europe's #1 importer for the Philippines, and that's a very, very big success in the third year of our presence, of our new presence in the Philippines. For 2017, we're heading again to double the volume. We are targeting more than 2,000 cars. But we also need a lot of new models, and we will bring a lot of new models to the Philippine markets, especially also on the commercial side, like a Crafter, like the Caddies, but also the very, very much awaited T6 Combi, the bus or the multivan or the caravel, we call it, as well as new Beetles and new version of Tiguans and Golfs. So to make it more nice, more exciting for the Philippine market to choose the Volkswagen models you really would like to have. The best-selling model in 2016 for us was the Jetta and the Polo. But that's not a serious surprise, because the biggest amount of the cars, the major market in the Philippines is exactly that model. And we are happy that we have an offer in this segment to compete with the others, to bring nice models to the Philippine customers, which are really the people want.
So actually been with Ayala Corp for 15 years now, and through those years I was in charge of the manufacturing side of the business, which is Integrated Microelectronics Inc., IMI. What maybe a few people would not know, that IMI right now, about half of its revenue, close to $400 million worth of business, is actually attributed to producing parts for the car manufacturing, for the car itself. And we do this in 7 different countries, 14 different factories globally. On a personal basis, I'm an electrical engineer by training from Mapua. But my career has taken me different parts of the world, and most of it was actually tied to the car industry. So I worked in Midwest. Actually, at one point, I actually designed the chips that run the digital speedometer for the General Motors cars. So during that period, I actually learned a lot about how a car is prototyped, developed, designed, and then what it requires in order to get it into mass production. So my experience have been in the car itself, and now in full circle, I'm involved with trying to get the car into the hands of the consumers. So that's how I attribute the thing. So from an Ayala perspective, we decided to consolidate our interest in automotive, both on the manufacturing side and on the dealer distribution side. And Volkswagen is one of those entities that we then decided to then put more focus in developing that particular segment.
The Passat is a B sedan, and the market for the segment of the B sedan is not that very big in the Philippines. But we are happy that we can position the Passat, which for us a very lovely, a very great car, into a huge and very interesting fleet accounts, like in the Shangri-La, like with Fröhlich Tours, like with Nissan Khalis for the ASEAN Summit. So this is a perfect car for executive driving, for high-end driving, for premium driving in this kind of fleet customers. We are looking forward to increase this segment with the Passat because we believe that we have the right offer on that.
What we see is the value that we bring here is because of our operations in IMI. We're actually producing the electronic components for the next generation vehicles and the current generation vehicles. In fact, we're one of the few in the world that actually produces the front-end camera system that's used in advanced driver assistance systems, or ADAS, which is assisted or self-driving cars. So these self-driving cars that we see on the road, actually some of them are actually equipped by products that was built by IMI here in the Philippines. And so that idea that we have, and we see the trend where the car itself is actually going through a significant amount of disruption. And that disruption is where in the past we saw a very mechanical device, which is the car, transforming itself into an electrical one, where it's an electric vehicle and a hybrid vehicle, or a lot of the electronics that goes into the car. I keep mentioning that currently, as of 2014, I think is the data that we got, 35% of the value of the car is already attributed to the electronic component. And it's anticipated that that will go up to 70% by 2025 when we actually go into a full electric, self-driven cars. And that's not too far away in the future. So we see an opportunity in Ayala where the landscape of producing cars and the embedded infrastructure that we had in the past, which is now embedded in Thailand and Indonesia for producing mechanical cars, is actually being disrupted. So it opens up an opportunity now that the Philippines can be considered for these next generation vehicles, which is more electrically required than those in the past. And because of our background in being able to produce the critical components for safety, systems control, chassis control, then we have a chance of being able to play in that market. And that's the vision that we have, to have the Philippines as a gateway for the ASEAN market in this next generation of vehicles.
We will introduce in 2017 a lot more models in the lower end segment, because that's what I mentioned, that is the segment where the majority of the customers are. They're not really in the high end level, but they're in the lower end level, in the A0, in the A segment. So we will bring a lot more models into this segment with a very competitive price, so that we give the Philippine customers another alternative to choose from.
This could very well be one of the latest appreciation or Thanksgiving events from the automotive industry. This one courtesy of Volkswagen Philippines.